Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Burgers with Eric podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Burgers with Eric podcast. My name is Steven James. I'm your host. Today is Thursday, March 16th, 2023. I am joined today by the Airbnb King, Eric Weingart.
What's up, my man? Podcast number 2.
What's up, dude?
Number 2, brother. Let's do it.
I've been looking forward to this literally all week long, man.
That's all I've thought about.
I know. It's been so,
Can't get it off the brain.
It's been so fun. And the reason it's fun is because it's a challenge, man. Like, for me, I know, like, you've been doing the same thing with your company for, like, 15?
Yeah, 16 years, brother.
16, yeah. For me, it's 15 years in affiliate marketing, man. So, you know, picking up a new challenge and learning a new skill and how to make something like this fly has been really satisfying.
Yep.
You know, for a guy with some entrepreneurial spirit, which I know you have as well. But I think it went well. I got a lot of excellent feedback. I don't know about you. What kind of feedback you got?
You know, a lot of the feedback was pretty consistent and very positive. You know what most people were calling me about, man?
What's that?
You know how many dudes, my buddies, that reached out to me and were like, I need to get on freaking TRT. Who do I talk to?
I know.
And what it really kind of told me is that, dude, guys that are 32, guys that are 28, you know, everybody's, you know, not everybody's struggling physically, but people realize how important that is to their life and their overall wellness and happiness. And the feedback I got was incredible.
Same. Like, at least 4 people.
I should start selling it.
I know. Dude, you know what? Bro, a friend of ours is an NP. And she's like, oh, you're on that? I'm like, yeah. She goes, what are they charging you? I'm like, $3.99 a month. And she goes, Steve, I can get you this shit for $48. I go, what? I go, all 3 scripts? And she's like, yeah, $48. She goes, as long as you run the blood through my doctor, she goes, I'll save you $250.
That's the other thing too. Like when people were, I'm not even kidding you, bro. The second we put it on Spotify, my phone was ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
When I say off the hook, I mean 5 or 6 of my friends, right? And I think a big misperception too of TRT is I think most people think it's thousands of dollars a month.
Really?
Yeah, because when I tell people I'm paying I think I pay $200 a month, most people are like, that's it. Wow.
Yeah.
I think they're just, you know, not to bring up the steroid conversation again, but I think they hear about people that do steroids and they're spending thousands a month on it. And they're just unfortunately associating it with that when it's nothing remotely close.
No, it's not that. Yeah, man. No, tremendous. Today is Thursday, so I got my shot this morning. Did you go to the gym this morning?
I did. I went boxing, and I'm still revved up. I love it.
Dude, so I couldn't even sleep last night, like, thinking about it. Like, oh, I gotta get my jab tomorrow. We're going to do the podcast. Sexy Lexi's coming over. The Airbnb King's coming over, and we have a secret guest today, Ryan Zackon. We're going to introduce him in just a second, but before we do that, guys, I want to talk about, you know, Eric and I's path to success, right? And then after that, we're going to jump into to Uncle Steve's 10 Commandments, right? I'm going to drop 2 of the 10 that I kind of live my life by. You know, in order to be successful, they're kind of like little mental reminders, if you will. And then we're going to introduce Ryan, who's an absolutely impressive human being. He's an absolute specimen of a male.
Stud.
A monster.
However you want to cut it.
100%. So let's talk about that, bro. What was your path to, you know, not only financial freedom? I don't know if I could call you free because you technically still work for a company, but you don't.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Where'd your journey start? Did you know you were going to be an entrepreneur from a very young age, or what? Give me your story.
Dude, you know, my story's pretty interesting because I don't want to say it's better than anyone else's, but I think most people can connect with it a little bit better. Okay, so just to be very blunt, dude, I grew up without a father. I grew up with a mother who really didn't even know how to balance a checkbook, right? So just the idea of finances in my house, that wasn't a conversation.
Right.
There was no talk of business. There was no talk of success. Dude, all I was doing was playing football and basketball.
Right.
That's all I cared.
And the only conversations we were having with Mom are, how are we going to eat today?
It was a struggle. I mean, dude, she would sometimes, you know, she would have to call the church on Wednesday sometimes to bring us food. I mean, it was tough.
Wow.
We lived in a homeless shelter for an entire year. I grew up in foster homes. So, the truth is, man, my mother did work very hard. She was a hard-working nurse, but the idea of money was a sore subject and a subject of stress, constant stress. So I tell people that story because when I was 18 years old, dude, I had zero direction or idea of what I was going to want to do. And I really just, you fall into the party crowd. So I fell into the party crowd, partied a little too hard for a year. And then I said, all right, I got to do something. So I went into the Navy. Not a lot of people know that about me, but I spent 4 years in the Navy, realized I didn't want to do that. And now I'm under all this pressure to figure my life out again at age 23.
Well, stop there. Talk about the Navy, that experience. Because, my father was in the military. I mean, Air Force, granted. It's not Marines, Navy, or any of the other branches. I mean, if you're gonna go into one, in my opinion, and now as 43, I wish I had done it because I probably would have had a much faster path to success and discipline. So, talk about your experience in the Navy and what that brought to you, as you were coming up. What mindset did it give you? Because that's applicable now at 43. I'm sure you live those lessons today that you learned in the Navy, right?
Oh, beyond a shadow of a doubt. So 2 things that come to mind when you say that is most people think like routine and structure. Yes, you got to be sharp at 7:15 in the morning. You work your entire day, you work out, and then you party hard on the weekends, right? So it's the cliche-ish term, work hard, play hard, right? That's what you do in the military. But the more I think about it as I'm sitting here talking to you, I probably don't give enough credit to that background.
No.
Because I never had a male figure to teach me how to be a man and how to go about providing as a man or acting and carrying myself as a man. The more I sit here and think about it, I do want to say thank you right now to those people that guided me in the military. I did have a lot of male role models in the military, and I probably didn't treat them with as much respect as I wish I had, but they were an image of something to admire.
Yeah,
that was the first time I ever witnessed it.
For sure, that's amazing. Yeah. So you're using those in your day-to-day life now, and I gotta imagine, right? It's not easy to go through, I don't want to say hazing, but at the end of the day, the training that the federal government gives you in the military program, I mean, there's nobody can offend you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, I got back-to-back appointments, so. You know what I mean? Like, big deal. You went through very difficult things as a young, 18, 19, 20-year-old man.
Check this story out. So when people talk to me about hard work and the idea of hard work today, so I was in the Navy prior to September 11th, 2001. Yeah. Honestly, it was kind of a free-for-all. So we went over to Europe, and it was like a cruise ship. We would party for 3 days in Spain and then go out to the water again for 3 days. Yeah. But after September 11, 2001, the entire military environment changed. It was, lockdown, war ready. Dude, I had a 9-month stint, where I worked every single day for 16 hours. 9 months straight.
Every day for 16 hours?
16 hours, and it just felt normal.
Yeah.
So when I hear people today who can't and I'm not saying you got to work like a dog. I don't mean that. No. But who complain and bitch about a 40-hour work week.
I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time. Bullshit.
There's always time.
There's always time.
There's time for things you give a shit about.
100%. You got cancer. You have to go through chemotherapy. That's a 2-3 hour ordeal. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're going to have time for that because it's going to keep you alive. That's great. We're getting a little tangent.
It's okay. Here. I told you my story's deep.
No, it is, and I love that. I appreciate that about you. So after the Navy, you picked up some tips and tricks on how to be a man.
Yep. 23 years old. Right. I got out at 23. Yep.
After 23, you're like, okay, Navy life ain't for me. What are we doing?
Well, I felt the pressure, because we're looking at 2003, and the environment was such that, and I went to a decent high school, right? Brighton High School, most of the kids in upstate New York, they're pretty well off. They already have their college degrees. They're pretty set up with their careers. So I felt, man, I have to get this college degree to attain success.
Oh, same with me.
So the only thing I liked, I was really only interested in sports, women, right?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot else.
No.
But I was actually always fascinated with psychology. So I went and believe, not to pat my back again here, but I got so into psychology. I went to Brockport.
Yep.
You can look up the records, man. I did a 4-year degree in 2 years.
All right.
So what I think that military did was just ingrain this
Yeah.
insane work ethic. So I was taking 21 credits a semester, 12 in the summer, 6 in the winter. Dude, I got a 4-year degree in 2 years.
That's absurd. I got a 2-year degree in 7.
It's all good, brother.
We have very different paths
Yep.
to success. All right, so 4-year degree, wrapped up in 2 years, which is
Well, I
highly
wanted,
impressive.
so just so you know, I wanted to make money.
Yeah, right.
Coming from no money, I wanted to make money. And I'm like, all right, so I really started looking at going down the line of getting my doctorate, right? Maybe getting into clinical psych and all these things. So here I am, 25 years old. I'm already in a little debt, not making any money, and I'm bartending, right? When I just got done.
Where was it?
This was down at Champs, down in Eastview Mall in Victor, New York.
Dude, I worked there too.
Get out of here.
Yeah, who was that military?
How did we keep missing
I
each
bet you we
other?
knew each other. I
What is
bet you we
going
did.
on here?
Who was the little GM there? The little
Mike Griswold.
No. When I was there,
Dave was his name. Dave?
he was short, stocky, like ran the place like Auschwitz.
Did we miss each other again? Were you like a waiter?
What years were you there?
03 to 05, something like that?
I was no, dude. We worked there at exactly the same time because that was the.
Were you in the kitchen and you're lying?
No. I was a server, bro.
Okay.
I was a server. Dude, that was the last side job I had before I moved to Florida. So I was there probably 03 to 05.
Unbelievable. I was bartending the
We
entire.
had to have known each other.
I mean, all I cared about were the girls back then.
I know. Bro, so speaking of that, the server life, you know the server life.
Oh, yeah, we all know it.
Ties back into party.
It could be fun. You should enjoy it for a little while.
I did. I got my fill. One night, one of the girls, actually two of them, ended up coming back. We continued to party because, like you were saying, work hard, play hard. That's the server life.
Yep.
So, I always had this thing with, I completely whiff on her name, but, she was tiny. And at the time, working out, big, strong, 26-year-old. But I picked her up, hugged her, not even hard. I broke 3 of her ribs.
Stop.
Yes.
You're a gorilla.
No, dude, that was a total accident. I felt horrible. I just picked her up and gave her a hug. Pop, pop, pop.
Did you hear him pop?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Dude, it's completely other conversation. So, okay.
Yeah, I'm never hugging you.
No,
I'll tell you that.
don't do it.
Babe, no hugging,
No,
Steve.
sexy Lexi can't hug Uncle Steve. Listen, so the server life, making some money as a bartender.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is I remember this vividly. Remember, I really didn't have financial mentors.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
yeah,
I'm just winging it, bro.
Yeah.
Right? But all these guys would come in, they're driving Mercedes and BMWs, and they always had suits on.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd always come in and sit down at the bar. I'd have these great conversations with them. And I would just finally ask them, what the fuck are you guys doing?
What do you do?
They weren't doctors. They weren't lawyers. They were all in sales.
Yep.
So I was like, okay. So this is the path. This is the path where I can go down quicker to make some money. Yep. So I ended up getting a sales job.
Yep.
And when I took this sales job at this company, I remember they introduced me to the people making the top money at the time. They're probably making like $170,000, $180,000. And I mean this with no disrespect to these people. I knew they didn't have anything on me. I knew they weren't more assertive, more talented than me. And I was like, I'm really going to kill it here. So I took sales and with an entrepreneurial mindset within it, right?
You're running your own business inside a business.
Yep. And, kind of that's really where I really started to build a good income. I mean, I was getting up to the point making $400,000 a year in sales. I mean,
absurd.
In Rochester,
sales.
in Rochester, New
You
York.
can't spend that money. You can't spend $400K in Rochester. You can't do it. I know, because I was there too.
Yeah.
Completely,
Down here, it's different.
Completely different path. Oh, down here, it's below the median. But that's amazing, man. So so I know the answer to this question.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
after you started making some good money. What
Yeah.
happened?
Well, I climbed the corporate ladder, became the VP of sales, and I was always making that kind of good money, right? But what I also realized is that no wealthy person makes money off of their income, right? They make money off their investments, right?
100%.
So I started investing. I would always buy mutual funds. I would always buy stocks, and I'd make 10, 15 grand here and there, nothing big, right? So I'll just give you some numbers, man. Dude, I was probably worth a few $100,000 a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
And dude, I had been on Bitcoin since like 2015.
Yeah.
2015. And
That's early.
early.
That's early.
Yeah.
Early.
You can ask every single one of my buddies in upstate. I was on this early,
Yeah.
right? So I really bought the bulk of it. Under 3,000 is where I put in my biggest investment. It was about $50,000,
Yeah.
Which was a lot of money to
Under 3K Bitcoin. BTC
under
price.
3K.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was my big win, dude. 1.6 million.
What? You can't. What price did you cash out? Did you get
Just
out at
over
the top?
just over 60,000.
Oh, the peak was 64.
Now I've bought, I think 68, 69, but I've bought and traded.
Yeah.
I think it's 68. I could be wrong.
I thought it was 64.
I might be off.
999, but you know more than I do, buddy.
Now, just so you know, what I was doing in between then, because she knows how obsessive I am about it. Like, I can predict it's pretty damn easy. You buy the dip.
Right.
Right? So what I was doing the entire time was accumulating more. So for me, for a guy who grew up the way I did, to see 1.6 million in a Coinbase
literally
account,
press a button and 1.6 comes to your account, dude. What did that feel like?
It's crazy, and I you know this.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It
Same.
really nothing.
Same.
It's,
Listen, and I tell people that all the time, right? We have to be very careful because we come off sounding like an asshole, right? If you don't have enough monthly liquidity through income, and some dickhead tells you, "Oh, I got a check for $1 million," and didn't give a shit.
oh, that's easy to say because you got it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but they're looking at it the wrong way. Right.
Yeah.
So, and I reflect on that quite a bit. And the answer is, we are prepared to receive that money. It's the same reason that people that win the lottery go broke.
Yep.
Right. You give a guy that's made 30 grand a year for his entire life, $10 million windfall. Well, that's getting blown up on houses for his mom, his friends, partying, girls, drugs, cars,
Yep.
right? All that stuff. And then all of a sudden, holy shit, you're broke. When, somebody like you and I has been investing for a very long time, we know what to do when we receive a large sum of money like that. So it's a different mindset that people that are prepared to receive that kind of income or money at once than somebody who's never been there or built their way up to be able to receive that.
Yep.
So that's pretty awesome, man. So 1.6 in Bitcoin, what happened?
Well, so then, and the rest of the story, the past few years in Florida, we come down, buy some real estate. We get into the market pretty early. I basically doubled the net worth pretty quickly.
Oh, dude, pre-COVID, man, my neighborhood alone, 300, right?
Wow, these
Oh,
houses.
350.
That's what these houses were?
Well, mine's a little different. I bought the developer's house. So,
gotcha.
Rule of thumb is never buy the biggest house in the neighborhood. For me, it didn't matter because I needed the yardage for the dogs. But yeah, no, these houses now are 7, 8. Guy down the street 1.6.
Wow.
Guy over here 1.3. These are 3,200 square foot houses.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have some kind of gold horseshoe up your ass because if you sold
Maybe
Bitcoin,
the past 3 to 4 years.
yeah, timing is everything. If you sold Bitcoin at 60,
Yep.
bro, and the peak was a shy over 64, bro, that's sick timing. Real estate, same thing. Pre-COVID, the most
And during COVID, 2020.
during COVID, right
COVID.
before it ran. Yeah, wow, that's insane. So what are we doing now?
Well, so we have, obviously, my business partner and I, Alexis, so we own properties, and we've gotten into a property management business now, too.
Yeah.
So I am not employed by a company, but I'm a 1099. I still do marketing, sales.
Sure.
So I have a few irons in the fire. We got our Burgers with Eric podcast,
I know,
too.
I love it.
So yeah, it's been a good 3 years, but the blink of an eye, dude. I always have this feeling too. A couple wrong decisions can put you can put you right back.
Yeah, no doubt, absolutely, and that's really sound advice for everybody listening to Heed, man. Talk to people that are in your shoes, or right, not in your shoes, in the shoes that you want to fill, right? Because chances are people that have more than you have already made those mistakes. So I know for me, the financial education I've gotten from people that have severely more money than I do, and I do okay. We're both self-made millionaires at this point, but these people had some financial tricks with leverage and all this stuff that, I really learned from, and it's been able to grow my net worth significantly and purchase assets against what I already own, which is cool. But they're not going to teach you that in high school. They're not going to teach you that in college. Your parents, normal 9-to-5 parents, growing up in suburban middle class, they don't know what the term leverage even means. So yeah, great advice.
Dude, I appreciate it. I'm dying. I don't know your whole story.
No, listen.
I see the Monroe Community College graduation.
Yeah.
Upstairs,
my 2-year degree. Let's get into that next week.
Okay.
Because again, we're running a little bit long. We're at 20.
Cool.
What I want to do is I want to introduce Ryan. Right. We'll kind of try to pull the Uncle Steve's commandments into either next episode or a little bit later, but I want to introduce he's a really good friend of mine, one of my best friends down here in South Florida, Ryan Zackon.
Hey guys.
What's up, Papa?
man.
How you doing? Papa C.
What's up, Big Daddy?
What's up, man? Grab them headphones.
You guys got the full setup going on here.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
Wires and all.
Welcome to the Tiki Hut, bro.
Hey, bud. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Can you hear everything okay? Everything's good?
Yeah, good.
Awesome, man. So Ryan is, I think we mentioned at the top of the podcast, is an absolute monster, dude. Model of a modern, successful man. So Ryan, how old are you?
40.
40 on the dot.
A little over. May 1st is my birthday.
Awesome. Lean a little bit closer to that.
How about
'cause
that?
I'm not picking you up.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. You are mic 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up your gain a tad. So now you're good.
How's that?
Yeah.
There
much
you
better.
go.
That's perfect.
Nice.
Cool, man. So 40 years old. We live in South Florida. Give me your story, bro. What are you doing? What are you doing now? Because I know you're an Ironman. That's something I know you take a lot of pride in. I know you recently took a company public, traded on the NASDAQ. And, on this podcast, we try to give little truth burgers and little wisdom nuggets to men, period, but, with focus on men over the age of 40. It's absolute pleasure to know you, bro. So I want you to kind of tell your story. What got you started? What brought you here today? And where are you going next?
Yeah, so first of all, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for, I'm honored to be the first guest here. You guys
Honored
are doing
to have
something
you.
great. To be honest, I'm waiting for my burgers. Burgers with Eric, and you think you're gonna get lunch. So we'll have to find some burger sponsorship.
All I got is protein bars, bro.
Mark Wahlberg, if you're listening, shout out to Wahlburgers. We should get some support here.
That'll work.
No, appreciate you guys having me. Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. I grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
Family moved here to the U.S. when I was 12. High school down here. Ended up at the Ohio State University for undergrad, and then decided I wanted to move out to California and go into law enforcement. Did that for a little bit. Got laid off, and ultimately found myself trying to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. And when you think you're going to save the world and that doesn't work out, you kind of have to pivot.
Yeah.
So I became what I call now an accidental entrepreneur. All I knew really was security. All through college, my best friend, my college roommate, and I, Isaiah, we were running security for a couple of nightclubs downtown Columbus. And so when I found myself needing to make money to live in California, I fell back into that. Ended up starting a business, grew it, and then exited and moved back here about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just been. They say you're lucky, right place, right time, surround yourself by people. It's literally been all of that. I've been really fortunate, and Yeah, sometimes it's hard to think of where you were and where you came from. A lot of what you were saying earlier, resonated with me. I don't have anywhere near the same background or struggles that you had. I'm very fortunate, but my ethos is kind of when one door closes, figure out another door. And so there's a lot of similarities in the things that I've done. I do compete in endurance races and all that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of synergy between the dedication it takes to do a long distance race as well as grow a business and ultimately IPO. And so yeah, it's been a crazy journey.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, tell me, because I'm fascinated by it. Right? I can't run a mile. That's not happening.
Yes, you can.
No, I can't do it. I try. I'm really ineffective at running. Talk to us about what it's like to train for an Ironman. Talk to me about what sort of discipline that takes, and what does your training regimen look like, and how long is it?
Sure. So everybody's different. Some guys can do couch to Ironman in 3 months. Some people it takes longer. The Ironman journey for me was something that really came up, as a wish list item, kind of one of these bucket list items that I always thought that I wanted to do but was never able to do. And I was doing a 100-mile relay going from Key Largo to Key West. It was a running relay called the Keys 100, and I was paired up with a group of people. We lived in the back of a Lincoln Navigator for an entire day and a half, and basically the race is leapfrog. So runner 1 goes, runner 2 goes, runner 3 goes, and then everybody recycles. Ultimately, over the total distance, everybody ends up running about a full marathon. And one of the guys that was on that group was a guy named Brian, who I became very, very close friends with. Similar guy. Actually, he would be a great guest for your podcast. Type A guy, little over 40, a beautiful wife, 2 daughters, CFO of a private equity firm. Just a real, just a guy that gets shit done. And so him and I became, fast friends, as I say. We noticed a lot of similarities in our personalities and all that stuff. And we both kind of decided that I knew I wanted to always do an Ironman. I never thought it was possible. What I found out accidentally was that he was also in the same boat, and we decided that we were just gonna try to do a baby triathlon and see how we liked it. What
are those called? The 16.2s?
Sprint triathlons,
okay.
or the smaller ones.
All right.
I hated swimming.
Yeah.
And I think he hated biking, and the irony is now he's an amazing biker. But so, make a long story short, I borrowed a girl's bike, and he borrowed a bike, and I'm not lying to you. His forearm pads were like Brillo pads with duct tape tied to them. We had no idea what we were doing, and we ended up doing a sprint triathlon here in South Florida, and we finished very well. And we both kind of looked at each other and were like, okay, we should maybe do this.
You were pretty good at this.
Yeah, we were pretty good at this accidentally. And then we started training. We both committed to doing an Ironman, and then COVID happened. Yeah. And so the training journey for me was 11 months. And for him, his Ironman got canceled. And so his training journey was almost 2 years. And he became a stud. He qualified for the Half Ironman World Championships this year. Just a stud in the sport.
Well, you qualified for the Maccabi, right?
Yeah, I went to Israel. I competed in the World Maccabi Games.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so the Maccabi Games are, again, it's just, been very fortunate to be able to achieve success when I achieved success and kind of right place, right time. The Maccabi Games are otherwise known as the Jewish Olympics. It takes place every 4 years on the same Olympic cycle in Israel. I was fortunate enough to be asked to join Team USA to compete in the triathlon, so swim, bike, run. Ended up winning a bronze medal in the bike, which was amazing. Was able to take my parents to Israel. My dad had never been to Israel, and as someone who is Jewish, identifies closely with the religion, involved as a non-professional. I sat on the board of the Jewish Community Center here in Boca. Try to give back as much as I can. For me, that was super impactful.
Yeah, dude. Eric just looked at me like, dude, who is this guy?
No, he's out of his mind.
Fucking Iron Man.
He's
literally
I was
Tony
boxing
Stark
for 40 minutes this morning.
He's like,
still huffing and puffing over there.
I only competed for Team USA, won a bronze. I sit on the board here and there, and he took a company public. Bro. Yeah, that's unbelievable. I want to talk about that because we got about 10 minutes. So tell me about a journey from. This is the wealth component, right? So the health component, obviously, he knows what he's talking about.
Clearly.
It took you 11 months to train for your first Ironman?
Yeah, so you're correct. Yeah, so
11 months. Well, what does the daily regimen look like? That's what I want to get at.
That's what I want to know. What are you doing every day?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What's your daily routine like?
It's I call it incremental victories. It's little successes, right? There's an admiral named William McRaven, or Bill McRaven, is a former Navy SEAL commander, who gave a speech at I believe it was West Point graduation, where he said, "Wake up and make your bed. And if you start making your bed, then everything you do after making your bed seems successful and easy." And I can't say that I was ever in the military, but I take a lot of that ethos to the way I live my life. And you wake up in the morning and you complete one task, then you complete another, then you complete another. And that might be brushing your teeth, right?
Yeah.
Which is what Admiral McRaven says. But for me, the Ironman challenge for me was that I've always just been able to do shit. Right. If you said to me tomorrow, hey, you want to go run a marathon? Sure, I'm not going to win, but I'll finish.
Right.
Ironman for me, similar to the IPO journey, was something I just couldn't wake up and do. I actually had to train for it. When you're training for a long distance triathlon, if you don't hydrate properly, you're literally going to drown yourself. It's called hyponaxemia. It's when you deplete all of your electrolytes and everything in your body and you only drink water. So you have to educate yourself on how your body works. You have to biohack. Wow. You have to understand the way your body is working and what it's putting out to know what to put back into it. The joke about an Ironman is it's just a giant buffet, because from the start to finish, you just have to eat you're eating the entire time to try to put back into your system what it is that you're putting out.
How long does this take from beginning to end? How long is a typical Ironman?
So you have, I wanted to get my money's worth. My journey was 14 hours. So from start in the morning when you jump in the water to the time I crossed the line was 14 hours. Mine was longer. I had an injury on the run. My Ironman journey was crazy. I did Ironman Mexico in Cozumel in the middle of COVID, and the path that we were running the marathon on, the Mexicans stopped paving in COVID because they stopped working. So when you get 1,100 athletes dumping water on themselves, dirt turns into mud, and I slipped and I hurt my ankle pretty bad on the run, and that set me back. So there's all these little failures within the giant success that make crossing that finish line. And if you watch the video, so there's something called the Ironman red carpet. The Ironman red carpet is the finish line red carpet that it's kind of the sacred ground. Unless you're completing the race, you're really not supposed to walk on it. It's one of those Ironman things. Well, over the course of the day, as people had finished the race, the red carpet actually got bunched up. So I finished this whole race. I'm going 14 hours, and then with like 30 feet left to go, I trip on the red carpet over the little. It's like you just couldn't win.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a crazy journey. So most people finish it. You have to finish it in under 17 hours, or they kick you off.
Okay.
And then each discipline, swim, bike, run, you have X amount of cutoffs, because the probability of you finishing in under 17 hours, if you don't finish the swim in under 3 hours, is not likely. So they pull you off the course.
Is there a part of that Ironman that you dread the most? Where you're like, God damn it, it's this part.
So Mexico was an interesting race. The week before our race, there was a hurricane that came through and had just missed Cozumel and hit Honduras. And so the wind on the backside of the island was pretty bad. Ironman Cozumel.
So you're running against it. Is what
you're
saying.
biking against it.
Biking.
Yeah. So
okay.
you're biking basically into the wind, and there's a picture of me with a palm tree behind me that looks like I'm biking in a hurricane. So for me, that was the hardest part. So I dreaded the wind, and to be honest, talk about doing things and wanting to quit. I was on the backside of the island, and I've told this story many times. And so the Ironman Cozumel was 3 times around the island on a bike. I'm pretty sure it's 3 times. I was pretty delirious, so it could have been 4, but I think it was 3 times. And on the 3rd time, I'm halfway through the backside of the island, and the wind is just blasting in your face. And I think I was averaging, 16 miles an hour. When you train at 21 miles an hour, that's extremely mentally depleting. Yeah. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. And everybody has this moment in, whether it's building a business or whether it's training or whatever, where you're like, yeah, I'm done. I give up. And I'll be very honest, I'm not any better than anybody else. But in order to quit, I still had to bike all the way back around the island, because you're in the backside of an island. There's nobody picking you up. So I'm like, well, if I still have to bike all the way around the island, I might as well keep going. And so that's the only reason why I didn't quit. But I was like, at one point, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Why am I here? And you start having all this self-doubt creep in. And when you're in an Ironman, you're not allowed to use headphones. There's no music. So it's you with your thoughts
against you
for 14 hours. It's you against you.
Now apply that to regular life, right? Like the arc here is, Eric's Navy journey, where there's
Ironman's motto.
Nothing can. What's going to offend you, bro?
Ironman's motto is anything
what's going to
is possible.
challenge you as much as what you went through as a 21, 22, 23-year-old man, much like, Ryan, on the back of an island in Mexico wanting to fucking quit.
Let me set the stage though. So Ironman's motto is anything is possible, right?
Yeah.
The moment that you want to quit, that moment that you keep going forward, I had that moment in the IPO journey.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't sure if World War III was going to happen. We went public 3 days before Russia invaded the Ukraine. And so this whole roadshow journey in COVID, when you take a company public, you're supposed to do a roadshow where you fly around the world and you raise money, you raise capital. We did that via Zoom, right? They came to my house and put a green screen in my house, and we were raising capital for our IPO, talking about our company, pitch deck after pitch deck after pitch deck all day long for 3 weeks straight from my guest bedroom that was turned into an office. And there were so many times where you're just like, this is never going to happen. We're never going to go public. Russia's going to invade before we get a chance. We're never going to get our deal done. All this work is for nothing. We acquired all these companies. We have all this debt. We're not going to be able to get out of it. And so similar to you going through boot camp, or similar to a lot of people in the military, or to me in Ironman, right? There's a moment where you just become stronger than your own negative self-doubt.
Yeah.
And that's when you keep moving. And ultimately, as everyone knows, we got our deal done, and Russia invaded, 3 days later. And so it's just a testament to your own perseverance, but also you got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you're never going to achieve what you want to achieve. And the motto is anything is possible. And I live by that. And if you can do that, you can do anything. And if you remember times in your life where you almost failed, other things that you want to do that you're in the middle of almost failing are easy to accomplish. And I can tell you that everything that I do that's hard, for me, it goes back to, well, if I can do an Ironman in 14 hours, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times a week that comes into my head.
So it makes everything feel simpler, is what you're saying, right? Yeah. Less murky.
Yeah.
Less challenging.
Speaking of murky
Less
and
burdensome.
challenging, speaking of that, talk to me about relationships, bro, because that's the third point here.
Third, yeah. This is the third.
Third
spoke on the wheel.
So
tough.
listen. Here's. I want to ask you: are there any special lucky ladies? A and B. What is it like dating in South Florida as a successful 40-year-old man?
There's not enough time on this podcast to talk about that.
We'll make time.
So there are no special lucky ladies. I am single currently. I've been blessed with relationships, right? Yeah. I've met some amazing women. I've been in amazing relationships. Most of my exes that I've been with for a long period of time, I'm still friends with, because
that says a lot about someone, by the way.
100%.
I don't screw people over. Nothing happened. It just, we were at different points in our life, or it didn't work out for whatever reason. Yep. I don't believe that you have to, mother F everybody.
Yeah, burn it.
Yeah, that's not classy. Don't do that. Dating in South Florida is challenging. South Florida is unlike a New York or an LA or a Barcelona or London, where people come to build businesses, right? And now it is a little bit more, I should tell you. We've become what I call the fifth borough, because all of Manhattan has moved down to Florida. And so there's a lot more business down here. But I moved here 6 years ago, and there was really no industry. I was running, give you an example, there was so little industry that I was running a third-party logistics company, and we were getting really good deals from UPS to ship product, because all of their trucks would come down full but would leave empty, because there's no real industry here other than citrus. And so for us, that was great in business. We were getting good deals, but it demonstrates how people come here for different reasons. And so, the first week that I'm here, I go to join a gym where you're now working out, which is tremendous.
100%.
Shout out to Pure Life.
Love it, by the way. Thank you for the recommendation.
You're welcome. I love seeing your face at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I never see you.
Well, I'm on the bike.
That's why it's only been twice.
I train outside. I don't do bikes to nowhere. That's not really my thing. Shout out to Peloton, bike to nowhere.
100%.
I don't do the bike to nowhere. But anyway, I go to join the gym, and I walk in the morning, and I'm talking to the guy, and I'm like, hey, so what's it like here at 5:30? And he's like, in the afternoon, it's crazy. And I was like, no, 5:30 in the morning. And he's like, you'll have the gym to yourself. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, are you new here? Nobody works. And for me, that was kind of, I was like, oh. And so dating's challenging, right? It's, as someone who wants someone who brings to the table what I bring to the table, that's very hard to find. And being successful at a young age, and I consider myself still young at 40, is a blessing and a curse in so many ways. But again, I've been very fortunate with love. I've met some amazing women, and you just got to be patient and go through the motions, and hope you meet that person.
It's interesting. He's sitting here talking. Do you remember when we're all younger? We're all basically the same age. Do you remember thinking when we're 22? I remember when I was 22 years old, I thought 30 was old as, And 40 was, basically a grandpa, or, I was getting ready to, get senior discounts, but it really is true. And I don't know how you feel, but one thing that's really happened to me the past 3 years living down here is, where we're from, we were talking about it on the last podcast. It's a very conservative area, conservative mindset, right? And most people where we're from, when they're 40, man, they're overweight. They're not taking care of themselves.
Skin cancer.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
And whereas I feel like, what's happened to me down here is me at 42 now, I really do feel, and I mean this sincerely, that I'm 42 going on 22, and I'm really looking forward to my next few decades of success versus just kind of finishing life out, if that makes sense.
We live I couldn't agree more. So we live a very active lifestyle down here, right? We are always, Florida, we're always outside, we're always doing stuff. And that's what differentiates men like us at our age here from men. We can also, again, we have the luxury of being outside 12 months a year.
Yeah,
I grew up in Canada. Right in Montreal, your golf course is open for 5 months if you're lucky. Maybe
you get
maybe
6 weeks.
You get 7 weeks of membership. Right,
4 months of boating.
Right, 4 months of boating.
Yeah,
here
crazy.
we're outside all the time, and so that does a lot, right? I'm sure I'm not a doctor, but I'm sure there's studies about outdoors and endorphins and things that lead you to feel better about yourself and the access to sunlight and things like that. And for me, I love living here. I lived far away for a long time. Coming back, in hindsight, I should have done it sooner, but everything happens for a reason. And this is by far the best place I've lived. I'm living the lifestyle that I want to live. I've made amazing friends. That here I tell this story all the time. Before I moved to Florida, if you would have asked me, "Hey, you're getting married tomorrow. Who's your groomsman?"
Yeah.
I'd have like 2 friends. Because I was so transient as I was building my business, and I was doing kind of my own thing. I was kind of in my own lane. And then you move down here, and I've been so blessed to connect with people like Steve, my other best friend Corey, and my college roommate is still one of my best friends, and I still have really, really close friends from California. But you surround yourself by people that are like you, and moving to Florida has allowed me to do that. I think there's also part of it is that I'm at a different place than I am, right? Before I was hustling 120 miles an hour. Yep. Here I've done that, but I've also figured out work-life balance. At a 38, 39, 40-year-old, I figured out how to work hard, but also play hard, which I know is cliche, but it's hard to do.
It's real. It's
real.
Yeah.
And you have to for your mental health. You have to find something you're passionate about. For me, it's boating, right? Like bought a boat, love living on the water, boats behind the house, and I'm on my boat every day, even if it's just by myself to go for a cruise. You have to have the work-life balance, and you're going to be more successful in your professional life if you're happier in your personal life.
Yeah, no doubt.
Which goes back to dating, I guess, and being single.
100%. One of the things he said was, being around like-minded people, and that's one of Uncle Steve's 10 commandments.
We're 40 years old.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about stocks and portfolios and building businesses and all these things, you got the wrong friends, right? When was the last time you and I went? When was the last time you and I went out for a drink? We went. You and I went to Rachel's.
Yeah.
And we had a steak. We went for the steak. We went to a strip club.
Great steak, brother.
It's great. That's what I'm saying. I didn't even know it existed.
It's the best steak in South Florida.
And he calls me. He's like, "Hey, you want to go to Rachel's?" And I was like, "Well, how does your wife feel about that?" And he's like, "Oh, she's fine. We're going for the food." I was like, "Wait, what?" We go there. So we literally walk in. We go up to the restaurant part. We're sitting down. We're having a steak. And like the girls start coming over, and we both look at the maitre d', and we're like, "Can you get them out of here? Like, we're not here for that. We're here to hang out, right?" And it was but I mean, that's the last time.
Right.
Like,
So
that's our idea of a good night.
The commandment is, show me your friends, and I'll show you your future.
Yeah, so true.
So true. We'll talk about it on the next episode. But yeah, Rachel's, dude. Rachel's. It's the best steak in South Florida. Shout out to Rachel's on 45th.
Shout out to Rachel's.
West Palm Beach,
opportunity.
sunny West Palm Beach, Florida. Rachel's Steakhouse.
Listen, I have to tell you guys, this has been a blast. You guys are doing something cool here, and
appreciate it.
There's not a lot of male-centric podcasts that focus on 40 and over, and I think the topics that you guys are discussing now with me and the next guests, in perpetuity, I think are going to be great. I hope a lot of people start listening, and I'm fortunate to always be your first guest.
Hell yeah,
I'd rather be your first than your last.
Hell
I
yeah.
think is
So-
what they
so
say.
listen,
Oh wait, they say
you'll
I'd
be on
rather be
again.
your last than your first.
You'll be a
but-
regular.
100%.
You'll be a regular.
Bro, let's do this. Let's sign off because we're at about 43 minutes.
Okay.
Ryan, leave our listeners with your golden nugget of advice. What is, if you, just a normal, regular guy listening to this, what's one piece of advice you could give them that's maybe helped you in life, that's easy to execute?
When one door closes,
Yeah.
find another door.
Yeah.
It is the underlying theme of my life: resilience, persistence. I didn't have a business to come back and inherit, right? Success for me was a necessity, not an option.
Yeah.
And so that started with, unfortunately, getting laid off, losing my job, and then figuring out a way to pivot. And now look, and in hindsight,
Same.
And one of the famous quotes I always hear is hustle until your haters ask if you're hiring.
Yeah.
When I left law enforcement,
Ooh, I like that.
When
It's happened to me.
when I left law enforcement, everyone's like, oh, go back and get another cop job and do this because it's steady and convenient. Like 3 months later, they were like, hey, man, you got any extra work?
I don't want steady and convenient.
Some people do, and that's great, but that's not my personality.
you.
And I don't believe it's either of you either. And so
No, it's tattooed on my arms. Always overcome.
it is tattooed.
It's literally tattooed on my forearms. So that's an awesome bit of advice, man. Thank you
thank you, Ryan. That was
thank you
awesome.
for your
Thanks,
time
guys.
today,
Thanks for
brother.
having me.
This has been a lot of fun. Next week's episode, we'll go down Uncle Steve's path to success, and then we'll really open up those 10 commandments. I think we got a special guest too, local boy, local to Western New York as well.
Another
From-
Bills fan.
Another Bills fan.
Let's go.
That's absolutely right. We'll have him down at Uncle Steve's Tiki Hut next week.
I've been to the bus lot. I haven't jumped on a table though. But Uncle
Ryan's
Uncle
adopted
Steve,
Mafia,
yeah,
though.
I'm
Ryan's
honorary
Maybe
Bills
next year
Mafia.
Maybe next year we go to Dolphins Bills game in Buffalo.
We went to the Dolphins Bills game in Buffalo.
Yeah, we made a big mistake and sat on the fucking home side. Terrible idea.
God.
What was it, 130 in the stand?
My first Bills game, and we're there quarter two. He's like, I'm done with this. We're out. No, because Peterman was Josh
Oh,
Peterman
no,
was
I
the quarterback.
took him off.
He's like,
Peterman,
Nate
he's
Peterman.
so
Sorry. He's like, I'm
trash.
done. I'm out of here. I
Remember
was like,
the
it's my first game.
Bears Buffalo game
my
where they got their
five-
teeth kicked in 48 to
5
3?
picks in the first quarter. or
No,
something
that
weird.
was in San Diego. That was
Oh,
in
that's
San
right,
Diego. He
that's
did
right,
that,
that's
but
right.
no, he didn't do any better versus the Bears. So I'm all excited, like, yeah, but that's not what that stadium's about, bro. It's about, being a Bills fan is about the fan experience. It's an experience unlike anything else. So for me, we didn't have any high expectations. If it was Josh Allen playing,
Yeah.
you're always in it.
Yeah.
But this is Nate Peterman. It's 45 to 3 in the third quarter.
But we
So we're
flew
outta here.
from Florida to Buffalo, and there's a whole other story about what happened on that
We don't
trip.
wanna talk- we don't want to talk
we
about it.
flew
That's
there
a whole
before
podcast.
the game,
Different podcast.
and he wants to leave in the second quarter. So
Yeah.
honorary
100%.
Bills Mafia here.
100%. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in.